The Desperate Call, the Last Song of Cathara. Prime deep, beneath the crystal blue waters of Cathara Prime, reef singer Yalna pressed her webbed hands against the dying coral formations that had once been her people's greatest cities. The bioluminescent patterns on her translucent skin flickered with distress as she watched another section of the living reef turn gray and crumble into the abyss. The Cathara had lived in harmony with their ocean world for over 10,000 years. Their cities were grown, not built, from living coral that responded to their bioelectric songs. Their technology was organic, their culture peaceful, and their hearts heavy with the knowledge that everything they loved was dying. The degradation rate has increased again, reported current writer Jorik, his own light patterns dim with exhaustion. He had been working without rest for weeks, desperately trying to find a way to stop the silicon-based virus that was consuming their world. Sector 12 is completely dead. The virus is adapting faster than our biohealers can counter it. Yalna's throat sacs inflated with grief, producing a low harmonic that resonated through the water around them. It was a mourning song, one that every Cathara on the planet could feel in their bones. 3 billion souls faced extinction, and the greatest minds of their species had no answers. The virus had appeared 6 months ago, seemingly from nowhere. It consumed organic matter at the molecular level, turning their living cities into lifeless silicon structures. Worse, it was learning, adapting to every countermeasure they developed. Their ocean home was being transformed into a sterile wasteland. So, Council has made their decision, Yalna said, her voice carrying the weight of generations. We must call for help beyond our star system. Jorik's patterns shifted to show surprise. The Galactic hegemony has already refused our request 3 times. They say the cost of intervention outweighs the value of our world. Not the hegemony, Yalna replied, swimming toward the massive bioacoustic transmitter that dominated the center of their dying reef city. Beyond them, beyond the mapped regions, we know there are other civilizations out there, civilizations the hegemony doesn't control. The transmitter was a marvel of Cathara bioengineering, a living creature bred specifically for long-range communication. Its massive neural networks could broadcast complex messages across hundreds of light years. Never before had it been used to contact unknown species. The signal goes out. 3 days later, Yalna stood before the Council of Deep Currents, the governing body of their species. The 12 eldest Cathara formed a circle around the central communication node, their combined light patterns creating a mesmerizing display of blues and greens. Are we certain about this course of action? Asked Elder Titleheart, her ancient
voice carrying the wisdom of centuries. The hegemony has strict protocols about contact with uncharted species. They warn that some civilizations beyond their borders are violent and unpredictable.
With respect, Elder, Yalna responded, her own pattern showing determination. The hegemony's protocols have left us to die. If we must risk contact with unknown species to save our people, then that is a risk we must take. The message they had prepared was simple but comprehensive. It contained mathematical proofs to establish intelligence, visual data showing their dying world, and most importantly, a desperate plea for help. Any civilization receiving it would understand that 3 billion lives hung in the balance. Send the signal, commanded Elder Titleheart after a moment of silence. Let it reach whatever ears will listen. The transmission burst forth from Cathara Prime with unprecedented power, racing across the void at light speed. It passed through hegemony space, beyond the established trade routes, into regions marked on no galactic chart. For 3 weeks, it traveled through the darkness carrying the hopes of a dying species. Earth receives the call, Captain. Maria Santos was reviewing supply reports in her quarters aboard the UES Determination when the emergency alert sounded. The veteran of humanity's expansion wars moved quickly to the bridge, her weathered face showing the concern of someone who had seen too many crises. Report, she commanded as she took her position. Long-range sensors picked up a structured transmission. From outside our exploration zone, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the communications officer. It's definitely artificial, Captain. Mathematical sequences, visual data, and what appears to be a distress signal. Santos felt her heart rate increase. Humanity had been reaching toward the stars for 2 centuries, always wondering if they were alone. The answer was arriving in the form of a cry for help. "Get me Admiral Chen on priority channel," she ordered, "and prep the xenolinguistics team. If this is first contact, we're going to do it right." Dr. James Chen, no relation to the Admiral, despite sharing a surname, was humanity's leading expert in theoretical alien communication. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, developing protocols for contact with unknown species. When the signal data reached his lab, he knew immediately that humanity faced its greatest test. "It's beautiful and terrible at the same time," he told Captain Santos over the secure channel. "These beings are aquatic, highly intelligent, and their world is dying. They're not asking for conquest or demanding submission, they're begging for help." Santos studied the decoded images on her screen. The alien cities were unlike anything in human experience, grown rather than built, living, organisms shaped by intelligence and will. Now they were turning gray and lifeless, consumed by something that defied easy categorization. "How many lives are we talking about, Doctor?" "Based on the population density data they've provided, approximately 3 billion individuals. Their entire species, Captain." Santos closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of decision. Humanity had always been explorers, pioneers, fighters when necessary, but they had also been helpers, reaching out to those in need regardless of the cost. "Prep the 3rd Fleet," she told her aide. "Full expedition loadout, we're going to help them." The fleet assembles. Within 72 hours, the most powerful fleet humanity had ever assembled was preparing for departure from Earth's orbital shipyards. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 frigates, and support vessels carrying everything from scientific equipment to emergency supplies. Most importantly, they carried humanity's determination to help, regardless of the unknown dangers ahead. Admiral Patricia Chen, Maria Santos's fleet commander, addressed the assembled crews via ship-to-ship communication. Her words would become legendary in the years to come. "Today we learn that we are not alone in the universe. We learn this not through conquest or exploration, but through an appeal to our humanity. 3 billion souls are dying, and they have called out to anyone who will listen. We listened. Now we answer." The fleet engaged their jump drives in perfect synchronization, disappearing from Earth space in brilliant flashes of blue light. Their destination was a star system 47 light-years away, where an aquatic species waited for salvation that might never come. Captain Santos stood on the bridge of the UES Determination as they traveled through jump space, watching the swirling patterns of folded reality outside her viewports. Her ship carried not just weapons and equipment, but the hopes of 2 species separated by vast distances, but united by the simple desire to help and be helped. Arrival at Cathara Prime. The human fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Cathara system defined they were not alone. 3 massive vessels bearing the insignia of the galactic hegemony hung in space like sleeping giants, their energy signatures indicating full combat readiness. "This is Admiral Korvac of the Hegemony, 3rd Battle Group," came the transmission on standard galactic frequencies. "Unknown vessels, you are in violation of quarantine protocols. Depart immediately or face the consequences." Santos and Admiral Chen exchanged glances on the command bridge. The Hegemony's reputation preceded them, a confederation of older species that maintained galactic order through superior technology and the threat of force. They were not necessarily evil, but they were bureaucratic and rigid in their thinking. "This is Admiral Patricia Chen of the United Earth Fleet," came the reply. "We received a distress signal and have come to render assistance. We have no quarrel with the Hegemony, but we will not abandon those who need help." Admiral Korvac's response crackled with authority and barely contained anger. "The Cathara situation has been assessed and deemed unsalvageable. Resources cannot be wasted on futile rescue attempts. You will depart, or we will force your departure." From the aquatic world below, reef singer Yalna and her people watched the confrontation with growing hope and terror. The newcomers had actually come, but now they faced the full might of the Hegemony, 3 ships against an entire battle group seemed hopeless, but they didn't understand humans very well yet. Admiral Korvac, Patricia Chen's voice carried across space with absolute calm. Our scans show 3 billion lives on that planet below. I don't care what your assessments say. We didn't travel 47 light years to turn around because you find it inconvenient. The standoff stretched for long minutes, 2 different philosophies facing each other across the void. The hegemony believed in practical solutions and calculated risks. Humanity believed in helping those who needed help, regardless of the odds. Finally, Admiral Korvac transmitted again. You have 24 hours to attempt your rescue. When you fail, you will depart and never return to this system. Any interference with hegemony operations will be met with force. Admiral Chen smiled grimly. 24 hours, we'll take it. Below them, an entire world held its breath, waiting to see what these unknown saviors might accomplish, where the greatest powers in the galaxy had seen only futility. The unlikely saviors, understanding the enemy doctor, James Chen worked feverishly in the mobile laboratory that had been assembled in the UES Determination's cargo bay. Around him, the best scientific minds humanity could muster analyzed samples of the silicon virus that was consuming Cathara Prime. The Cathara had provided complete data on their failed attempts to stop it, giving the humans a head start on understanding their enemy. It's not just a virus, Dr. Chen announced to the assembled team after 18 hours of non-stop analysis. It's a self-modifying nanotechnological system. Someone built this thing, and they built it to be unstoppable through conventional means. Captain Santos leaned over the holographic display showing the virus structure. Built by who, and why target the Cathara? Unknown on both counts, Chen replied, his exhaustion showing. But I have an idea about how to stop it. The virus adapts to biological countermeasures because it's designed to consume organic compounds. It learns from every attack the Cathara make because they're using biotechnology. So we need to attack it with something it hasn't learned to counter, Santos concluded. Chen nodded. Exactly. Something completely outside its programming parameters. In the depths of Cathara Prime's dying oceans, reef singer Yalna received the human transmission with growing amazement. The newcomers wanted to coordinate with her research teams, sharing data and theories in real time. No species in the galactic hegemony had ever offered such cooperation to the Cathara. Most treated them as primitive because their technology was biological rather than mechanical. They want to try something called targeted electromagnetic pulse, Yalna reported to the Emergency Council. There, Dr. Chen believes the virus might be vulnerable to precisely calibrated energy weapons. Elder Teitelhart's patterns showed skepticism. Energy weapons? We tried plasma bombardment months ago. The virus just adapted. This is different, Yalna explained, studying the human data streams. They're not trying to destroy it with brute force. They want to disrupt its quantum coherence matrix with specific frequency modulations. Their mathematics are elegant. The human solution Admiral Patricia Chen stood in the fleet's command center, watching as her ships took positions around Cathara Prime. The hegemony vessels maintained their distance, observing but not interfering. Admiral Korvac had made it clear that humanity had one chance to prove their approach could work. All ships report ready for synchronized pulse emission, reported Fleet Captain Rodriguez from the UES Defiance. We've configured our weapons to match Dr. Chen's specifications exactly. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Instead of fighting the virus with biological agents that it could adapt to, they would hit it with precisely tuned electromagnetic energy that would disrupt its quantum-level processes. The key was synchronization. All ships had to fire at exactly the same moment, creating a planet-wide field that the virus couldn't escape. Begin the countdown, Admiral Chen ordered. Remember, people, we only get one shot at this. If it doesn't work, the virus will adapt and we'll never get another chance. Deep below the ocean surface, Yalna floated near her people's greatest bioacoustic amplifier. The humans had asked the Cathara to sing during the pulse emission, adding harmonic resonance to the electromagnetic attack. It was a fusion of human technology and Cathara bioacoustics that neither species could have achieved alone. All stations ready, came the reports from across the human fleet. Cathara harmonic generators synchronized. Yalna transmitted from the depths. Admiral Chen felt the weight of 3 billion lives in her decision. Failure meant the extinction of an entire species and humanity's first contact becoming its first failure to help those in need. Fire, she commanded. The moment of truth, 12 human heavy cruisers fired simultaneously, their weapons configured for precision rather than destruction. The electromagnetic pulse spread through Cathara Prime's oceans like invisible lightning, synchronized perfectly with the harmonic songs of 3 billion Cathara voices raised in desperate hope. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the readings began coming in from sensors throughout the system. Viral activity dropping in Sector 7, reported Dr. Chen, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Sector 12 showing signs of recovery, added another scientist. The bioluminescent networks are coming back online. Yalna's transmission carried pure joy. The reefs are singing again. Throughout Cathara Prime's oceans, the silicon virus found itself faced with an attack it had never encountered and had no defenses against. The precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse disrupted its quantum coherence, causing it to lose the ability to adapt and consume. Within hours, the virus began breaking down at the molecular level. Admiral Korvac's transmission reached the human fleet with grudging respect. The hegemony acknowledges the success of your unconventional approach. The quarantine is lifted. New alliances. 3 days later, Admiral Chen and Captain Santos found themselves in the most unusual diplomatic meeting in human history. They floated in environmental suits within a pressurized underwater chamber, face to face with reef singer Yalna and the Council of Deep Currents. Yalna's bioluminescent patterns were brighter than they had been in months, painting the water around her with swirling colors of gratitude and joy. Your species saved ours without asking for anything in return. The Cathara have never encountered such generosity among the stars. We help because it's the right thing to do, Admiral Chen replied simply. That's what humans do. Elder Tidal Heart swam closer, her ancient patterns showing deep respect. The Galactic hegemony told us that your species was unknown to them. They spoke of you as if you were primitives from some backwater system. They were wrong. Captain Santos smiled. We're new to this galactic community, but we're fast learners. We'd like to establish formal diplomatic relations with your people, if you're willing. More than willing, Yalna responded. The Cathara would be honored to call humanity friend. Over the following weeks, as Cathara Prime's ecosystems returned to vibrant life, the two species began a cultural exchange that would benefit both. The Cathara shared their biological technologies and their deep understanding of environmental harmony. Humanity provided advanced materials science and their unique approach to problem solving. The ripple effect. The rescue of Cathara Prime sent shockwaves through the galactic hegemony. For the first time in centuries, an unknown species had appeared and solved a problem that the combined wisdom of the galaxy's older races had deemed impossible. Admiral Korvac filed his report with mixed feelings. The humans had succeeded where the hegemony had failed, using methods that no one had considered. They had also demonstrated a level of altruism that was rare among spacefaring species. Most races expanded for resources, territory, or power. These humans seemed motivated by something else entirely. What do we know about this Earth? Asked High Counselor Vex during the emergency session on the hegemony capital world. Limited data, Korvac replied. They appear to be a young species, perhaps 500 years of technological development. Their ships are well designed but not particularly advanced by our standards. What makes them dangerous is their unpredictability and their willingness to take risks that more cautious species would avoid. Dangerous? Questioned another counselor. They saved an entire species. Exactly, Korvac said grimly. A species willing to risk everything to help strangers is one that cannot be controlled. Through traditional means, they don't think like us. They don't calculate cost versus benefit the way rational species do. That makes them either valuable allies or formidable enemies. Back on Cathara Prime, Yalna floated among the restored coral cities, watching human and Cathara children played together in the crystal-clear waters. The partnership between their species was growing stronger every day, based on mutual respect and shared values. Dr. James Chen had remained on the aquatic world, establishing the first joint research facility between humans and Cathara. Their combined scientific knowledge was producing breakthroughs that neither species had achieved alone. "You know," Yalna said to Captain Santos during one of their regular meetings, "when we sent our distress call, we hoped for anyone to answer. We never imagined we would gain such wonderful friends." Santos smiled, watching the bioluminescent patterns that decorated the Cathara's translucent skin. Sometimes the best relationships begin with someone asking for help and someone else deciding to give it. Looking to the stars, as the human fleet prepared to return to Earth, they carried with them more than just the satisfaction of a successful first contact. They brought technological innovations, cultural exchanges, and most importantly, proof that humanity's approach to galactic relations could work. The rescue of Cathara Prime became known throughout human space as the moment when humanity announced itself to the galaxy not as conquerors or merchants but as helpers. It established a precedent that would guide human foreign policy for generations to come. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Determination, looking back at the blue-green world that had become humanity's first alien ally. The Cathara had been saved, but more importantly, humanity had learned something about itself. When faced with the choice between safety and helping others, they had chosen to help. In the months that followed, other species began reaching out to humanity. Some came seeking aid, others offering partnership, all curious about these newcomers who had solved the unsolvable and asked for nothing in return. The galactic hegemony found itself dealing with a new player that didn't follow the established rules. The humans were too altruistic to be dismissed as a threat, too capable to be ignored, and too unpredictable to be controlled. As reef singer Yalna often said in her reports to the expanding Human-Cathara Research Partnership, "When gentle souls called for help, the universe sent us warriors with hearts of gold." Perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needed. The rescue of Cathara Prime marked the beginning of humanity's age among the stars, built not on conquest or domination, but on the simple principle that those who cry for help deserve to be heard, and those with the power to help have the responsibility to act. In the end, the Cathara's desperate SOS had brought them salvation in the form they least expected, not from the established powers of the galaxy, but from unknown warriors who fought not for glory or gain, but for the right of all intelligent beings to live, flourish, and sing their songs among the stars.